do. And he pushes down the 2 columns. It ultimately kills him, but it kills all the enemies, right? And I loved this thought that, like, you have this guy, like a Jake the Snake, somebody who never got his approval, always feels like they'd failed, but only to have the twist that all their failures were actually setting them up for the real main event of their life, right? And then those sort of stories, so think of the inspirations, kind of like those, The Shining, all kind of became what birthed Mad Dog.
Yeah, that's really cool, mate. Really cool. And I was telling Sharif just before the show, I actually should ask you before I tell you this information. So where did you get the name Mad Dog Morgan from?
You know, it literally, that just sort of came to me when I was thinking of this character. I was thinking about different wrestling names for him, you know, and I like to say wrestling because I think that's sort of the vibe of this, you know, where it's where it was. I thought over different names, you know, having seen so many wrestler names just in my own life and a fan of the sport. It just sort of came to me, and it's like Mad Dog Morgan came, and then the rest of the script came, right? It was like, it was sort of the first thing out the gate. And I sort of struggled with titles of it, if you can imagine. Like, it was once Blood Moon Stomp. It was once Abraxas, which is like the name of this sort of monster / deity that they encounter. So I sort of switched it around, but then it kind of came to the end of it here right before releasing it. It's like, it should just be named after him. That's what this is. So
that's cool. Because the reason why I'm asking, mate, is in 1830 here in Australia, we actually had a famous bushranger. So I'm not sure if you know the terminology bushranger, but they're kind of like an outlaw highwayman kind of thing. So this guy was well known in my state of Victoria, which is where Melbourne is, and also another state above that called New South Wales. And he, you know, shot and killed police officers, and he was a major player as an outlaw and a bushranger in Australia. So I'm like, oh, that's really cool. I wonder if there's some sort of connection there. And there was actually
his name was Mad Dog Morgan.
Mad Dog Morgan, yeah. And in 1976, there was a movie that was released starring Dennis Hopper as Mad Dog Morgan.
I did not know this.
Yeah,
this is a new discovery for me. And what's the name of that film where he's playing?
It's called Mad Dog Morgan.
Oh, it is. You've got to be kidding. So it's funny because I usually when I do titles, I do a title search, and nothing really kind of came up. Or, but clearly I've got to see this film. Clearly I've got to see the film now.
It's from 1976, so you can imagine it's probably hasn't really stood the test of time that well, but it's probably worth having a look at anyway. So you get a bit of information about the background. Because when I saw the name, I'm like, oh, is he Australian? Is there a little bit of an Aussie connection there? But
that would have been cool if I'd have figured that out. But now you've just released that to me. So now the rest of the time that I'm shopping and presenting and, you know, showing this book around, I'll be thinking I should have made him Australian.
No, I'll just let you know, mate, because I'm like, I remember the name. So I did a little bit of research and like, yeah, that's right. He was a bushranger.
It's amazing. That's amazing. Well, he's not exactly a bushranger. He's not truly an outlaw, but he is an indie, you know, he's an outlaw in the wrestling ring, I would say. So that'll be his connection. That's really cool.
Yeah, a bit of interesting stuff.
Yeah. You know, and I think that, you know, I've always been fascinated with wrestling so much, and I think it's such a great arena, you know, for comic books, because wrestling is such a larger than life event, right? It's larger than life. These people take on personas, and which is sort of like very much what comic books are. They're over the top. They're larger than life. You know, sort of the superhero genre in general is like this wildly over the top world. And so it feels like wrestling and comics just are friends because of this very much, you know, big energy about them. And so I loved that for when bringing, you know, Mad Dog Morgan into a comic book, you know, this story. I just feel like the perfect home for it.
Yeah, you're right, mate. There's definitely a correlation between the two. Both of them are just fantastical sort of, I guess you say, worlds or universes. I mean, we use like universes a lot in the comic book industry, obviously, but a connection there. You know, it's out there, it's loud. There's so much action. There's so much stuff going on. It's a really cool mashup.
Yeah, no, and I love horror as a genre to like mix with other genres, because I feel like it offers such a dynamic way to experience, you know, to experience sort of any other genre, right? Like adding horror to it, grounds it, makes it primal, and allows for a lot of entertainment value.
Yeah, and also too, a lot of being able to explore, ideas and stuff that you wouldn't normally put in. So, for instance, like when I always think about that matchup between, your sort of more classical kind of storytelling and the horror element, like Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies.
Yeah, right.
There's all sorts of fantastical, weird horror elements you can chuck into a classic story, and it gives you a lot more scope to work with.
No, that's what I agree with too, and I love that, and it makes it incredibly fun, right? Because you get that, like, it gives you the weird, the crazy that you could throw into other things. So, so I love it, and I'm also just a big personal fan myself. I love horror comic books. I feel like, there's been sort of a resurgence in them, and in an exciting way. I think that Oni is doing great things with their EC line, with the Cruel Universe. That's been so cool. And I also feel like, Something is Killing the Children, Sync that John Lees is doing. 30 Days of Night was sort of what got me into horror comics. That original one, also an Australian right there, Ben Temple Smith. Because I worked on 30 Days of Night, the series. They did a short run series of it.
Yep.
And it opened me up. I met Steve Niles, and it's just like, wow, how fun is a horror comic book? And it was a good turning point for me.
So you worked on like the TV series?
Yeah. So 30 Days of Night did 2 seasons for a distributor called FearNet, and so they're an over-the-top platform. And at the time, I don't know if you're familiar with the original graphic novel, but there's a story that takes place in Barrow, Alaska. And then there is a storyline that takes place in Louisiana.
Oh, okay.
In the film, they cut out the Louisiana storyline, right? But in the comic book, there's sort of like 2 storylines chasing each other, and the series was the Louisiana storyline. And so we shot that here in Los Angeles, and it was with some second unit work in Louisiana to give set the sort of scene, but it was great. And then we did 2 seasons of it. There were 6 episodes in each season. It was a really cool thing.
I have to check it out. I didn't know there was a series. I loved the movie. I thought the movie was really well done. But I didn't know there was a series. So we've got to try and find it on some streaming service here in Australia.
Yeah, I tried to figure out where it would be, because FearNet, I don't know if they're even in operation even anymore, but they were like an over the top. So they were, at the time, they were a streaming platform themselves as well. Before streaming platforms had really hit their stride. But it was very cool. And it really baked me into that world for sure.
Awesome.
Earlier, before we came on, you mentioned about doing work outside of comics, and then now you have your own Kickstarter getting published, getting out there, and then you mentioned a little bit about the differences about doing both.
Yeah, that's right. So it's I've been a television showrunner for a lot of years, and I have a couple little kids right now, and so it's really transitioned my business into producing TV commercials. And I've been making commercial comic books professionally for 5 years, and so I've worked also in video games, and so I've just been around the whole sort of gamut of it. And I've produced films as well, and so in the process of storytelling creatively, whether it's a motion picture, whether it's a game, whether it's a commercial or a comic book, certain things come with them, right? And like the most overseen, or something that has the most amount of notes, filters, is commercial making, right? Like that's the most of it all, right? Because you can spend $1 million to make 30 seconds, and every single second has been combed over and cleaned to make it just not I should say sterilized, but as filtered to be as brand friendly as possible, right? Which obviously, so it's trying to sell you a product. It's not a movie, but and then then TV shows, they have their networks, and everybody has their things. But comic books, especially sort of on the independent side of it, is the true Wild West. And I'm so grateful for platforms like Indiegogo and Kickstarter, because they've opened up this arena where you can just create not unedited work. I never say that, because you want your stuff edited and refined and because nobody's Quentin Tarantino where you can just dump perfect stuff out, even though he's wildly edited himself. Like he spends a year and a half rewriting, and then he does all these readings with other actors to, there's a process to get to something great, but it's, can you get there without the filters, right? Because you want it to be edited. So there's this unfiltered experience. And that is what I love about comic book making. This project, I completed the entire book and was going to crowdfund it. I met with the lab right before, Lab Press, who's doing the publishing of it. They'll do a hardcover. They only do hardcover graphic novels. And so that'll come out later next year. But I've done so many crowdfunded books and had such a great time that I wanted to bring this back to that bring that out there first, to go back to all the backers who've been with me, and also to create something that was really special. And that's the other thing. Like I just said, hey, let's do this cool ash can, right? That we're going to do, that will be there at the New York Comic-Con. And how can we do things that are exclusive to this to make something special just for the backers, but also like, this is once again the fun of the sort of the Wild West of indie comic books that you do not experience sort of really in any other media platform, and certainly not, working for Disney or AT&T.
Yeah, the world really is your oyster, isn't it? When it comes to comic books, nothing's off limits. Well, pretty much nothing's off limits, and you can go in any direction.
Pretty much,
yeah. It's a media that's just got so much scope. It's just brilliant.
No, I feel that I've felt that probably for the last few years, that it feels like that comic books are the most fearless storytelling platform out there right now. And probably even I would say that maybe of those, Japanese comic books might even be the most fearless. It's like, I feel like Japanese comics and then like the mid-tier and indie comics on the West, because obviously the top big two, even though they do some great stuff, they definitely have a lot of filtering because, they're owned by Disney and AT&T, so they're going to have all that comes with it. But when you look at what's happening on things like Mad Cave, is a press I love, or a brand new press out, Ignition Press, you start to see these just amazing books that are dropping, or you see somebody like Tatsuki Fujimoto doing Chainsaw Man, right on the Japanese side, and it's just like, that guy is a fearless storyteller, and it's like, I just finished 14 volumes of it last year, and I just kind of binged it, and I was like, this is what fearless, after you did a couple thousand pages with a creator, you're like, I kind of get who they are. I mean, nobody is Kentaro, maybe no one is that, but Tatsuki is just like this, this fearless storyteller making this crazy tale. But because he's so committed, it's like, I want a guy with a chainsaw coming out of his face, and you can feel the authenticity in his creation. And I love that. That is why I think comics are the most exciting thing. Why Wednesday is such a great day, because it's like, oh, what fearless story just got dropped.
And
talking about books getting dropped, yours is coming out in a couple of days, 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, so to kind of give you the full walkthrough of it here, so Mad Dog Morgan it's a 160-page graphic novel. It's fully complete. So essentially after the crowdfunder, we'll go to print with it. There's 2 editions. There's an exclusive hardcover edition with a rad slipcase, and then a leather-bound edition as well of the book.
Ooh.
And there's a leather-bound, which I love that. And there's a T-shirt. There's a sticker pack. There is this incredible foil print that's going to come out to every backer. You can see this foil print here. This is art by Maxi Dallo, who is the artist on the book, and then the colors by Mike Spicer. And so that's going to be a foil print that will go to everyone. That'll go to everyone who backs the campaign. And then we have something ultra exclusive, which is, we have this here, which is the New York Comic-Con ash can. So the only way to get this will be if you're at Comic-Con next week and you run into me, or if you back the campaign in the first 48 hours. And I'm a big ash can collector. I love them. It's this beautiful, this piece of art will only ever appear on this. It will only be here. And it's the first 16 pages of the book. and it's here in gorgeous black and white, which I love black and white storytelling. And you can
Black and white is really underrated.
gosh, it's so underrated. I know. And see, this Ashcan really tells the story of the two main characters that are getting set up. The haunted house, right? The evil of the house, and then our man, Mad Dog Morgan. And it sets up that these two are on a collision path for each other. So it's a great piece. It'll be an incredible collector's item. And the only way to get it will be if you snag me in New York, or if you happen to back in the first 48 hours. So this is like our amazing gift to you guys. And this, you can see here, is the cover art, which it is now. Cool. The cover design is slightly different than this, but this was sort of the original art that became the cover. The graphics have become slightly different. But you can tell I love it. Patricio Del Pesci did the colors, and Maxi has such a fantastic style to his work. And this is the moment when he gets into the house and the audience is made aware that it's not as it seems. But as he's exploring, this house, he's going to find that there are dark and mysterious rooms in there where wicked things are being done by wicked men. It's almost like the house, the layers of the house, the deeper he goes into it, the darker and more twisted it becomes. And
so is it a bit like a Dante's Inferno kind of thing?
Yes, that's a great one. I love that you mentioned that. Yeah, you're going down through the 9 levels of hell, and that's essentially the process that I kind of set up for him, is that very same thing. He's going down through these levels, and it gets, quite frightening in some moments, as you can see here for him. And there is this flashbacks that occur throughout the book that kind of tell you how he got to be where he is. Because his problem, from the wrestling standpoint, is he was never able to dazzle the marks, never make them pop. He was just a jabroni, or just a jobber, and he never got to be, a face. And so because of that, like, there is this character struggle for him that he never was able to dazzle the marks. And because of that, he was a good athlete, he was good in the ring, but he couldn't sell the crowd, right? And that's his sort of a physical manifestation of his sort of inner working spiritual problem of who he is, and sorting problems with his dad and his brother and all these flashbacks to the past, right? So hopefully he can one day dazzle the marks, and which is where the story goes. And as he defeats, as he gets deeper and deeper into the house. And you can see there's also there's this girl, Hilda, who lives next door to the house, and she can see the house, because the house can only be seen if it wants you to see it, and it lures people in who are ready to be consumed. But she can see it, and the house has been calling to her for years. She's this teenage girl who, due to an accident, is in a wheelchair, and she's also a Mad Dog fan. And so she is somebody who also plays into this story and becomes a part of this transformation. And you can see that inside the house, there's this TV screen that starts to play old movies, but it plays them wrong. Like Humphrey Bogart gets killed in this story, and Vader kills Luke, and Jimmy Stewart jumps off the bridge, and it's starting to play the stories back in his life, and it's trying to pervert him and sort of warp his mind so he'll give in to the house. There are these other creatures who are actually former owners of the house, people who once lived there, and it shows their dark transformation that, they weren't able to resist, right? And now he's got to battle them. And
so they're all trapped in the house then?
They're all trapped in the house. And so, like, this is the main event of his life. He's going to do this one good thing because he could never do it in the ring or anywhere else. He's going to defeat the house and free the souls that are trapped inside of it, and in so doing, save his own soul, right?
So it's kind of like a physical and a spiritual journey.
That's right. That's the whole. That is, you nailed it right on the head. This is a physical and spiritual ride, right? That's what makes it so cool, is because you're experiencing an action, horror, wrestling, all kinds of mayhem, frightening moments, but there is this spiritual underworking that gives you catharsis and real emotional payoff in the story. And I love that, because when you take a look at Mad Dog here, he was a boy who had an extra thick skull, like that was his gift, right? So he could take a beating, and that was kind of what he became, was just a jabroni, a guy who could take a beating, and how that sort of like haunted his life, and how he never really found a place, and why he ended up in wrestling, because it's like, I can take a hit. And I love that we see these underpinnings of what became this, so to speak, failed wrestler. And that's really the magic of the tale, right? Is that then he ultimately is going to try and redeem himself while saving others.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Adam, so you've shared with us all of those images. Are all of the artwork for the book all done, ready for press?
It's all complete. So all 160 pages are done. The cover design is all done. You can see it there on the campaign, which will be Tuesday. You can also go to the pre-launch link. I don't know if you guys have dropped that out there, but if you go to the pre-launch link, you can see I have a video explaining some things. But if you go to that, you can sign up so you're notified, so you don't miss out on the ash can. But that's the cool thing about this. This isn't a Kickstarter where you're going to then wait 2 years, which has happened to me before, and I get it. But this I've done with that sort of Kickstarter where people take that long of a ride with you. I'm coming to you now with a completed book. It's ready to deliver, and that way there's some patience required because there's still a print run, but there isn't the terrible kind of patience, and so you can really get to it. And I can also just boldly say this thing's ready to go. You're getting into something that's gonna deliver, and it's gonna get to you.
All right, and so saying that, let's have a look at the Kickstarter page.
Oh yeah, sure.
Let's see. All right, I'm gonna switch over. All right, so as it says, it's gonna launch soon.
Yeah.
And just a quick look. That's the main cover right there.
Yeah, no. So this is actually the ash can cover, as you can see right here. That's the ash can cover. So this is like the pre-launch page, and I'm kind of teasing, hey, you want to sign up for the pre-launch so you get notified so you don't miss the ash can. But there are other, but the actual cover you'll see once the campaign goes live, and you'll see the two variations, the hardcover and then the leather-bound edition, and they both have this rad slipcase. They've transformed his mask into this golden symbol. A lot of cool things.
Oh wow!
And this is a GIF I threw together of one of the battles. This sort of failed model who got involved in the house and became a part of the horror in it.
Quite a fair bit of body horror there as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think that definitely, if you were to put this in a horror genre, it definitely falls into the body horror side because of the transformations happening to people. Yeah.
And on this page, you also had a quick video showcasing the ash can, which you already have. I did click on this, and I couldn't get enough, so I went onto YouTube looking for the main video, and apparently in one of your playlists you have 4 videos just for this book.
That's right. That's totally right. Where I walk people through the pages like I did with you, and where I show them the foil print and just talk about the story and what the heart of it is, as we've been talking now, just in a consolidated form.
All right. We're going to switch over to that video and have a quick look.
One thing that might be fun for you to see, yes, this one.
If evil could be distilled down into bricks and stacked one atop another until they formed a house where wicked things are done by wicked men, then this would be such a house, luring in the depraved and abandoned, feasting on their tainted souls and transforming them into the monsters that haunt its halls. And it's calling out for another. Mitchell Mad Dog Morgan was a jabroni, and never was. His dreams of wrestling are in the dumpster out back. He's going to drink himself to death and end it all, not knowing the house he plans to do it in has an even darker plan for him. It's going to break down his soul and claim it for its own. Mad Dog may have never been destined for glory in the ring, but all his failures were leading him to this. The main event of his life. To battle the house and free the souls inside. He will crawl, scream, bleed, but he's not backing down.
Oh man,
That's
But-
really cool.
Thank you, guys.
Really cool. Do you know what? Looking at that, and I love the way that it's been animated as well, Ads. And I'm just wondering, is it something you might consider doing, like an animated version of the comic?
I mean, I would absolutely love to. So
That'd be
that
cool.
was a combination of of essentially using VO3, After Effects, to build that out, and which was really fun. And I mean, I loved it in that form where it was kind of almost like a mix of comic and animation in moments, right? Where
Yeah.
sometimes it was the still frame, and then sometimes it was, and then sometimes it was, in full live, full action, and you saw the full animation motion. So yeah, I mean, I would love to do it. I would love to do it. Will that happen? We shall see. I feel like, in the new world, AI is both a curse and a blessing in some ways. I feel like it's a blessing to somebody who's built their own art and that you own and you created something authentically, right? This one was made by hand on, with pencil and paper, and then you use it as a tool to enhance it, right? Which is far different than, sort of generating it from others. And I would love to see that. And so maybe we'll get that chance. I know the lab and myself both have a lot of ties in film and television that could be very cool. But really, in my heart of hearts, I hope people read it and fall in love there.
The house design. Sorry, I was on mute. The house
Yeah.
design. It looks as creepy as hell.
Yeah, well, I thank you for that.
You really captured it.
Yeah, Maxie and I went over that quite a bit. Was how do we build, a house? And I show around this series that I wrote and directed as well, called Escape the Night. And in season 1, it's set in the 1920s, and it's a horror story. And they're in this wildly creepy house. It's actually here, not far from us, here in Piru, California. And it's called the Newhall Mansion. And that house is what we use as the sort of the framing or the inspiration for what became this house.
Oh, no.
And so it's based on this real house. It's pretty spectacular. People use it for wedding venues because in the broad daylight, it's quite exciting. But that kind of became became the house, if you will, for our story. Maxie obviously gave some flourishes and made it his own piece, but yeah.
It's very cool. I'm just laughing at you said it's used for wedding venues.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like, we use it for a haunted story as well too. But like, it's funny. We added some things to it to enhance that. Some gargoyles and other bits. But yeah, and it's kind of a beautiful wedding venue when you look at it at a different angle. So, yeah.
It's very cool.
So, what are your hopes and dreams for this particular book?
Yeah, I mean, I think my number one hope and dream is that, first of all, that people back it so they can get it, and 2, that they read it and that it finds a place inside them where they love Mad Dog and they want more. I think when you read this story, you'll find that there is a way that there would be a second one, and in a way you might not expect. And so I would love it if people were taken over enough by this story that they spread the word, that it became successful enough that we could then do that second arc of the story. So that
was actually going to be a question of mine, mate, as well, is that 160 pages and a hardcover is just sensational for a first book. And I was wondering, was it going to be a one shot, or is there the potential for something different? But you've just answered that question for me.
Yeah, and it certainly ends in a way where it could be a clean walk away, and you don't feel like you're like, it's not a cliffhanger, but I don't want to spoil it for those who do take the ride, but it does give you an ending that, boy, the second volume would be even more exciting in a different way. So, or I shouldn't say more, because that's a kind of silly thought, but it would be a tremendous second leg to the story. So I hope that gets to happen. And it's all on you guys to make that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, that is everyone up there. Fingers crossed.
Well, Aussieverse wishes you all the best once the book launches.
Thank you, man.
And I've already got the page saved. Just waiting
Likewise.
for.
Yeah, nice. Well, you guys
Live.
are too kind. You guys are far too kind.
No, it just sounds like it's going to be. I'm not going to say a fun read because it's pretty dramatic, but it's going to be an interesting read. And look, I'll be absolutely honest with you, mate. I'm not a wrestling person. I haven't watched it for many years and stuff, but this has really kind of piqued my interest or tweaked my interest, and I'm looking forward to finding out a little bit more. So, yeah, can't wait for it to be launched. And guys, if you're watching this now live, or if you're watching it in the future, please jump on and back this. This is going to be a really cool project, and it's well worth the investment.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys. And yes, it is a fun read. It is that fun kind of a roller coaster that you want to have in a comic book.
All right. Before we sign off, do you have anything else you'd like to share?
No, I think that's kind of it. I mean, I'm glad to be on it. I'm always grateful for people in the chat and people who back and support, because you're taking a bit of risk on me, you know, joining a campaign, getting this big 160-page thing. Are you going to even like it? So I'm always grateful for that. So big shout out to people for showing up for indie comics. That's the number one. And two, if you want to follow more of the journey, at Gifted Rebels Co. on X, on TikTok, on Instagram, and YouTube. I'm the most active on X and TikTok as far as like commenting and etc. Just because you can only choose so many platforms to like, you know what I mean? Although I certainly post on all of them and interact with others, but you only got so much time in the week. But yeah, you can follow it. I'll be always posting cool updates there, and also reviews of other comics, because I think one of the great part about loving comics is that you love them to the core as a fan before you're a creator, and that your love for other people's work still doesn't go away. And I like to talk about other people's great work too, because there's a lot out there.
Sweet.
It certainly is, mate.
So before we end, we usually have this one question that we ask all of our guests. Steve, do you want to? Yep.
So we always ask our guests, if you could sum up Aussieverse, what would you say Aussieverse is?
Is sum it up as in a word, or as a sentence, or as a monologue?
It's up to you.
Wow. I would say it's authentic comic lovers. Does that hopefully ring a bell? But I feel that there is certainly, I've seen several of the videos, like you're authentic in your love for it. And I dig that.
We appreciate that, and that is a lovely answer, but unfortunately, it's wrong.
It's wrong. You're totally
Aussieverse is simply, Sharif, it is for
life.
Thank you, jumping on that. We appreciate it, mate, and thank you for sharing Mad Dog Morgan. So as we said, guys, jump on, back this. It's going to be a really, really good project. It's going to be a great read. 160 pages, hardcover or leather bound. How good's that?
Yeah, it's good. It is very good indeed.
As soon as you've got volume 2 coming up, let us hit us up again. We'd love to have you on.
I'll be there. Thank you, guys. I would love to be back on. Appreciate it.
No worries.
Until
Thanks, everyone, for joining us.
Yeah.
Out.
Thank you, man. Thanks, guys. That was great.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate it. Thanks for jumping on.
I love that you're a single issue Steve, you know, because I always have